It's day 7 of Thanksgiving week where we're celebrating Thanksgiving turkey cinema. And today we're watching Miracle on 34th Street. Go ahead, give my whiskers a tug. We're talking Miracle on 34th Street from the year 1947, the oldest movie we've reviewed so far. Karen, what do you think? This was written and directed by George Seaton. I don't really know a whole lot about George Seaton. Have you ever heard the name? Like, is it familiar?
I have no idea, no.
Based on a story that was written by Valentine Davies, starring the mother of one of your favorite actors, Maureen O'Hara, and Natalie Wood. Did you recognize any other people in this? It had a lot of old-timey actors who kind of look familiar, but I just don't know their names.
I think the guy who played Santa Claus was familiar, but I don't like...
I'm going to be honest, for a very long time, I've never seen this movie until this time, by the way.
What?
And we'll get back to it.
Oh my gosh.
For a long time.
Wow.
I mean, until I watched this, I thought Burl Ives was the Santa Claus.
No.
I know, he's not. The budget was $248,000, which in 1947, right after World War II, was a little bit more than $248,000 is now. The box office is unknown because I guess they didn't track it so well back in that era of good feeling. However, it made at least $3 million in video rentals. So if you're doing that well in video rentals, it's a profitable film. Although those video rentals probably didn't kick in until everybody who made it was dead.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Even Natalie Wood, poor
I think
thing.
it was played quite often, during the season on broadcast television. So,
well, this is where I give everybody the spoiler warning. And I'm going to tell you right now that if you don't want to know how this nearly 60-year-old movie ends about Santa Claus, I mean, it's an iconic movie. I couldn't imagine that there's very many people like me out there who are prone to spoilers. And also, you've known about this movie your whole life. If you haven't watched it yet, you don't really care to get it spoiled, right?
yeah.
Right? Or maybe you do. I can't tell you what to care about. I'm not your dad. I think I nailed this synopsis, Karen. I'm really getting good at it. So here we go, about Miracle on 34th Street in a nutshell. A precocious little girl learns the truth about Santa.
Got the precocious little girl. I don't know if you know that knows the truth. Or
She learns the truth.
About Santa.
Yeah,
I think
she
she doesn't
learns
really like...
the truth
Yeah.
about Santa. It's a nice little, double entendre because she already thinks she knows the truth because her mother's treating her like a little adult. But then Kris Kringle comes into her life and changes her point of view. Now, how did you first discover this movie? Because I never watched it until you said, hey, let's watch it for Thanksgiving.
Funny.
And I would not have thought of watching this for Thanksgiving. So tell me how you discovered it.
We watched it every year at my house because it was on broadcast television, but we also watched it in school a lot.
Oh, wow.
Like on those days where you had let's watch a movie for our Christmas party. It usually was that one. So.
Yeah, we just watched.
And it was that one because I think the remake didn't come out until the 90s and we weren't watching it anymore as much then. So.
The only movie I really remember watching in school for a Christmas party was King Kong, like the 1976 version of King Kong.
Yeah.
So
We've actually watched Gremlins in our when I was in the first grade. That was like 1980 something. Oh gosh, that was crazy. That gave me nightmares.
Here's something I didn't realize until I was doing the research for this movie, but this was released in June.
Oh wow, no, I didn't know that either.
That's kind of weird to release a Christmas movie in summertime.
Yeah.
But then again, you got to think there's no VHS rentals back then. There's no cable television. So you might get people that come see it in June and it's still playing in theaters 6 months later when Christmas comes around.
True.
I don't know. But it just seems strange to me to release a Christmas movie in the heat of summer. But Gremlins was a summer release too. It happens sometimes.
Yeah. Maybe they were looking forward to the Christmas season. Maybe it was a promotion for Macy's too, because Macy's featured really hugely in this movie.
Maybe Macy's did want to get this way out there.
But then they also had Bloomingdale's in there and Gimbal. They wanted to kick off that shopping, start thinking about that kind of stuff already. And
well, I kind of had a a nice way to relate to this movie because last year I got to play Santa at that Breakfast with Santa last year. Was that for show choir?
No, that was theater.
That was for theater.
Mm.
So I don't know. I had a new perspective. It's a good thing I didn't see this movie before I got to be Santa because when you are helping Santa out by sitting there and listening to the kids, you really, really want to make sure that you don't ruin it for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I really got to enjoy it. And the kids would think it was cool because I could do the little Santa trick where they would tell me about something they wouldn't think I had any idea about, but I know a lot about kids' toys, so I could join in the conversation. Somebody told me that a little girl wanted a Jade Cargill action figure, and Jade Cargill's a wrestler, so I was like, oh, she's the strongest woman ever. And I was talking, and she thought, oh, he must really be Santa.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill. So that was a good helper. This movie starts off with the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, a holiday tradition around Thanksgiving in the United States. And, starts off with a drunk Santa, and Kris Kringle has to replace him. The voice on that drunk Santa was real familiar. So I think that actor is another one of those old-timey character actors.
Yeah, I thought I had recognized him too. So
Now, last year, did all three of the kids go with you?
no, it was just Silas and Sophia.
So
and her boyfriend.
You got to take some of the kids to actually see the Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York last year. What's it like seeing that in person? Because I didn't get to make that trip with you.
I think it would have been better if it wasn't raining and cold like it was, but it was still pretty cool. It was very crowded. We had to get out there at like 6 a.m. just to get a good spot, and there were a lot of people at 6 a.m., but the people that were there were like people that had done this before.
Yeah.
And so they knew what to bring, and we didn't know. So we stood there in the rain for 5 hours waiting for the parade, like the part to come past us. And we weren't even at the good spot where they do the theater shows and stuff, the Broadway shows at Herald Square. But in this movie, so they just showed just a little bit of the parade.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was like, was just waiting on the people to go by and the marching bands and the floats and all that stuff where we were. But I think all the new stuff with the Broadway shows, I think that's more of a modern thing and not something that they had back then. So
I was going to ask you which part of the parade is the best, the marching bands, the Broadway singers, or the balloons?
I like seeing the marching bands from all over the country. I like seeing the shows, but like the Broadway shows are more, they're lip synced on the float because they have to, every couple blocks they have to sing. You know, I think they save the real stuff for when they get to Herald Square.
Or when it's on TV.
Yeah. And so I think the coolest part was probably the floats, because people want to know, the balloons, people want to see, you know, what the new one is, or if there's an old one, there's still like the Charlie Brown ones are ones that have been there for decades.
And don't we have a friend who helps costume up there every year?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But we also so some of the other shows that we like to watch, like Friends and stuff, there's one episode where Chandler's like, look out the window, Snoopy, or I don't know if it was Snoopy, but he said one of the floats just like blew away, you know? So, I mean, everybody I think is waiting to see something wrong happen, like the anticipation of seeing the stuff, but like when something goes wrong, I think people are really like attracted to that. So
now, you know, famously, Santa Claus is the anchor of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It's when, you know, the parade is over and like Thanksgiving season has ended and Christmas season is beginning when Santa comes. Probably the most seen appearance of Santa in America, if not the world.
Right.
So you definitely don't want an old drunk plastered Santa bringing on the parade. And this Kris Kringle guy is the perfect guy to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Now, another question I have for you is, I just assumed that Natalie Wood's father had died based on the era when this was made, and you just didn't talk about divorce on television and in movies very much, especially not a family movie, a Christmas movie.
Right.
So I wonder if this might have been the first holiday movie to deal with divorce, because the little girl is in a fatherless situation because her parents are divorced and her dad doesn't ever come see her.
Yeah. You know, I'm not really sure. They don't really talk about that, but you know that the neighbor guy across the hall, you know, is really like macking on her.
He's trying to swoop in and get some of that sweet Marino.
Yeah. But she, You know, and she must have a lot of money. I mean, she works for
Macy's, yeah.
Macy's, but she has a maid,
And
like,
she's
and a
got like a
nanny or something
fancy
like that.
Manhattan apartment.
Yeah, a nice apartment, unless
Yeah.
apartments back then didn't cost as
Well,
much as they do now.
they've
You know,
definitely
but
outpaced inflation, but still you had to have a good job to have a maid
oh
in a
yeah,
nice apartment downtown, even in downtown Huntington back then.
yeah. Well, and also this little girl, like her, I think her mom has been very straightforward with her, and that's why she doesn't take any nonsense and doesn't know how to play, and
Yeah.
doesn't know about a lot of things, and
I
is
mean,
very opinionated about
definitely
stuff.
precocious. That word
Yeah,
works for her very
and
well.
I think that's because maybe she doesn't have that father figure role, or maybe she did, or maybe her mom was like just kind of wanted to tell the truth about everything
I
instead
yeah,
instead of glossing over
I
stuff.
get the feeling that what the movie's saying is that she feels betrayed by the father of Natalie Wood, and she feels like she was lied to, so she's decided she's not going to lie to her daughter about anything at all, and that
Yeah,
includes fairy tales.
yeah, I
And
agree.
yeah, but I just think that the divorce really is the root cause of this movie, to borrow a popular term on social
Yeah.
media now, looking for the root cause.
But I also think that the guy, what was his name, Mr. Gacy or something, that lived across the
I
lawyer.
know the guy you're talking about. I don't know
Yeah,
his name.
he was he and Santa, both the male figures, were trying to tell the little girl, like, don't forget to be a kid, how to be a kid,
Yeah.
and believe in these things, and so I think it was a reverse way of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like trying to make the male be more of the comforting, not so strict and stern, like have more of a motherly feel to them,
And
but being like in the
and
male role. So
I think it's important to point out that the original story was written by a woman. So I don't want to, because it'd be easy to say, "Wow, this feels like some male bias in this movie," but it was written by a woman, which doesn't mean you can't have male bias. But
no.
I think that's a relevant piece of information to have.
But think about the time period that it was written in, and the time
Yeah.
that it was like broadcast or whatever. I feel like there were these roles. Maybe the mom, she had a job. She wasn't at home working in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So there are some strong like feelings about what the female role and the male role is, but also I don't like the way they were. I mean, I do like the Santa figure, but then the other guy, trying to
To Mac on Maureen.
yeah, but also telling the little girl, almost like in an indirect way, don't forget to be a child. You should believe in these things. These are things, that you should be doing. You're too young to be thinking like an adult, or, I don't know if I completely agree with that, but I think it needed to be said because the mom was
Yes.
not doing that. So
I
she didn't have anybody in her life to tell her to.
100% agree with that.
Doesn't feel like she had any extended family in this either. Never really talked about her grandparents, or, maybe she was cut off from them. I don't know.
And it's a pretty straightforward plot. There's this mysterious man that shows up, claims to be Santa, and convinces a lot of people that he is Santa, kind of like the old letter to the New York Times editor that said, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus was the answer. And it talks about what is really Santa Claus, and kind of convincing us, Santa Claus is something that's real, just not necessarily in the way we think.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was like semantics that remind me of you, like when they were arguing that, well, you believe that you're a judge, so you must be a judge. Well, he
Yeah.
believes he's Santa, so he must be Santa. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is like a roundabout conversation like I would have with you.
I do want to talk
They're
about
not wrong.
some of the plot points that I found interesting, and I don't know that they would ever hold up in a modern movie, but the idea that Santa is telling the Macy's customers to go to Gimbals.
Yes.
And for some reason, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I
couldn't
love
have-
that, though. I thought
do
it was
too,
great.
But in today's kind of
Oh.
corporate capitalist environment, that Santa would probably be deported back to the North Pole or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. I'm just saying.
They
I
tell
shouldn't
us
say
not to do
deported,
that.
but
Like I've worked in retail
he'd get
before,
fired.
and
He'd get fired.
like working at a grocery store growing up. It was really looked down on if you sent somebody else to another grocery store chain to buy something that maybe we didn't have. You know what I mean? But like, I think it still stands true now. So
The story kind of culminates in a legal hearing to determine whether or not Kris Kringle is sane or insane, whether or not he is Santa. And I love the way that the attorney won the case by saying, like, an official department of the U.S. government recognizes him as Santa because they delivered some letters. And
Hmm.
that is kind of like a Christmas miracle.
Right.
I love that. That is the miracle. And then the real miracle that the title is referring to is the fact that Natalie Wood, more than anything, wants to live in a house with a yard rather than an apartment in downtown Manhattan.
The 34th Street, though, that's where Herald Square, the
Yeah.
big Macy's is. You
I
know, the
didn't know that.
miracle there is, I think, that
That the real
that
Santa showed up.
yeah, it was discovered there at the Macy's on 34th Street.
But they do find a way for her to get her home at the end, right? They drive past that
I
house. for
know
sale.
that. See, this is where I wanted to talk to you about some of
Okay,
the things
let's
that
hear
I
it.
didn't like about this
Why don't you
movie.
go ahead and tell me some of the things you
I
didn't
mean,
like?
I love this movie because it's the spirit of Christmas, you know, and Santa. But I think as I've gotten older, and some of the things that I've read, you know, opinions from other people about Santa and what Santa gives. Now, I think a lot of that is us living in the area that we live in.
Yeah.
We don't live in one of the more, I mean, we live in a populated area, but it's a lot of impoverished people. So there's a lot of different classes in where we are. And our kids have grown up went to an elementary school that
Yeah.
was a Title I school. So a lot of these kids didn't get a lot of presents and things that Santa would bring them. Maybe they'd get one or two presents, but then we have some more schools down the road that are a little more affluent, and maybe they got a trip to Disney World for Christmas. What do you tell a kid who got a trip to Disney World from Santa for Christmas versus a kid who didn't get anything from Santa, or got a few things, or maybe got a doll from the dollar store, but then this other kid got a PlayStation for Christmas from Santa. So I think it speaks to that, that's what really bothered me, is that this girl asked for a house and Santa gave her a house, you know, and then
Now-
somebody, and the doctor that got the x-ray machine from
Yeah,
Santa. And I'm
that's good,
thinking
though.
like, I mean, yeah, that's good and wholesome, but this is telling this kid is setting herself up for some really bad things, I think.
Now, that is the very reason what you're talking about, why
Mm-hmm.
Halloween was always my favorite holiday, because I felt like the Christmas spirit treated the rich kids better than the poor kids like me.
Yeah.
But in Halloween, if you're willing to put in the effort, you get the rewards, and it really is fair. I always called it the most democratic holiday because you can go out there and everybody can have the same holiday if they put the work in. And I know, well, you are limited to where you live, geography, etc. It's still way more evenly based than Christmas.
Yeah.
So I've always loved that because I grew up poor.
Yeah.
And I always love Halloween better than Christmas for just that reason. Any other drawbacks on it?
You know, I just think, like, I don't know. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I love that the guy is Santa and that, he wants to play him and he does all these really good things. The one thing I don't agree with is that he gave that girl a house. And maybe it's because she truly, like, believed in him there at the end. He made that happen. I don't know. Or maybe he didn't give her the house. Maybe he directed them through that neighborhood and showed them that the house that she wanted was for sale.
That's
And the
kinda what I
lawyer
picked
guy
it up.
said, well, the house is for sale. Let's buy
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? So he kind of pointed them that direction. He didn't actually, like, give it to him. But also, I don't know. There's some big things there, like big asks that, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with. Now, when our kids were younger, we did a couple things like that. But we didn't think about other kids, You know what I mean? We thought about, in the area that we were living in at the time when the kids were a lot smaller,
Yeah.
we were living in a more affluent area. But then I think when we moved here and they went to a school that they wouldn't have gone to in North Carolina because those really aren't,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
exist or weren't in the areas that we had lived in. I think we were humbled a little more when we moved here, and
Oh,
the kids
definitely.
do get things, and they get things that they ask for, that they want, but we don't say a lot of things are from Santa, like big ticket
Yeah,
things. You know what I mean? And by the time that we did, they were old enough to know about Santa and the traditions and things. So, but when I was a kid, I mean, I know you said you were like, you grew up poor, you didn't get a whole lot.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up poor. We got a lot, and we got some things that we asked for, but a lot of times we didn't get things that we asked for. And I think about those times that I was not grateful that I got things that I didn't ask for, or I didn't get the thing that I asked for. back when I was little. But like I think it as I've gotten older, it's made me change my views a little bit more about Christmas and stuff. So I mean, this is a really good wholesome movie. I think the
Yeah.
message though at the end with the house and all was just kind of like,
Well, this movie was very well received back in 1947. It won 3 Academy Awards. It won Best Actor in a Supporting Role. I believe The Lawyer is who
no,
won.
the Santa.
Oh, the Santa
I
won
think
Best
the
Actor.
Santa won.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought he would be in a lead role.
No, I heard that he won Best Supporting.
And then the writer of the original story
Yeah.
won Best Writing, Valentine Davies, and George Seaton won for Best Adapted Screenplay. The director adapted this. So
Very
3
nice.
pretty high-profile Academy Awards. It didn't win Best Picture, didn't win Best Director or Best Actor, but it still won
had
some
that
writing awards.
Gwen for Best Actor. He's the Santa.
I didn't know that.
Gwen Edmund. Yeah,
I'm
he played
very,
Santa.
very absent-minded.
John Payne was the lawyer.
Oh, he was a real pain.
Yeah.
Were there many laughs in this movie?
There were a couple of laughs. I think my biggest laugh was in the psychologist and how stupid he was, and when
He wasn't a psychologist, is what they reveal. He's
Yeah.
just a person to do intelligence testing, but not a psychologist.
and then Santa revealed, or Kris Kringle revealed that he had lied on all the tests, and
Yeah.
the guy said, now when he breaks, he's going to be a mental nutcase and he's going to go, crazy and blah, blah, blah. And then when he confronted him at the end, when he said, I can't believe you told that boy that he was crazy and that he's not a real Santa. And he walked up to him and hit him on the head. And he didn't even hit him that hard with his
Yeah.
cane. And then he got this big old goose egg that
I
popped
love
up,
it, though.
So
That's
that's what's funny.
old-timey
I'm like,
with-
you got what you deserve. But, the couple times that he, somebody was, he didn't really get hit that hard, but they made it look like he got really hard because he had this big old goose egg. But he sat up and he heard somebody at the door and he went, you know what I mean? I thought there were some good
He's being
stuff.
performative.
Yeah, and some of the faces that they made, and I think
I found the drunk Santa at the beginning of the movie to be kind of funny.
yeah. I
Not
mean,
quite
it's kind
Billy
of we
Bob
all
Thornton
know,
funny, but funny.
right. Well, also, okay, so the court scene where the kid comes in and he's like, "Hi, Dad," and he gets up there
Yeah.
and he talks about how
That was cute.
the Santa thing, and he goes, "Bye, Dad," when he leaves. I think some of that.
Don't
stuff
forget
was
a
funny.
football helmet,
Yes.
a real life football
Oh,
helmet.
okay. Also, one of my favorite scenes is when the judge's grandkids come in and they
Oh,
give Grandma
yeah.
a hug, and
They
then
stink
she
eye the
just
heck out of him.
the little girl was like.
And Mr. Macy says, "That's what I'm talking about."
Yeah. Yeah, so she was like, well, if you put, Santa,
Sit
then you're
on
going to tell
trial.
everybody that, Santa, he's not really Santa. Look, of course, this is why the kids are like treating you like that, but they didn't want anything to do with Grandpa, and I love that part.
Were there any parts that tugged at your heartstrings?
I think one of the more memorable moments too, like okay at the end when he had the cane in the house, but I think when the family came up that had the little Dutch girl,
Oh yeah.
then that she had
And
been
he could talk to
adopted
her in
and
Dutch.
she couldn't speak with the parents very well, and so he just all of a sudden just started speaking in Dutch. I'm like, okay, that would make me believe that this is the real deal.
I mean, when I'm watching this movie, I believe Kris Kringle's really Santa in
Yeah.
this movie. Do you
Yeah.
believe that, or do
I
you think?
do.
Okay, good, because
Yeah.
that's the only way I take it.
Mhm.
The parts that probably tugged at my heartstrings the most are like when Santa's in Bellevue and he's just kind of given up, and I feel like
Oh.
all he wanted to do was be nice to people.
Yeah.
And even if he is a little bit off, even if he was insane, it's like a benign insanity. He's insane, but to the point that he's helping people and doing nice things. Let him stay insane then.
Yeah.
So that tugged at my heartstrings. Like
Yeah.
if somebody's not bothering people and he's doing a good thing, you don't have to shut him down just because you think he's weird. He's not doing anything bad.
Yeah, I feel like this could parallel like religion and like when Jesus comes.
I don't touch religion on YouTube, so let's
well,
move on.
oh no, I mean you know what I mean. I really think that this could be like it parallels like how I think people would treat Jesus if Jesus were to come back.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just like because they didn't believe that it was him. Like what all did he have to do to prove that he was Santa? And they still threw him in the loony bin. And
Yeah.
so anyway, that's where I went with that. So
Well, Thanksgiving is the most food-centric holiday in North America. So I want to ask you, how's the food in Miracle on 34th Street?
Well, I think the only food they really discussed, though, was at the beginning. It was the Macy's parade on Thanksgiving Day, and they were going to have Thanksgiving dinner, and they asked the guy to come over but they never showed them actually like sitting down and eating dinner. I think. Remember when
Yeah.
the little girl was watching the parade with him outside the window, and
Yep.
the maid or the I guess it was the maid. You know, she was preparing the Thanksgiving food. We never saw any
Definitely.
food. Um, so I wouldn't. It's not a really good like Thanksgiving dinner,
Yeah.
focus. It was more of the season between Thanksgiving and the kickoff to
I
Christmas.
didn't
But
even recall that food. I was like straining my head here, and I couldn't remember any
yeah,
food at all in this. So good for
no,
remembering.
they talked about going out to eat. Well, the boy and Santa were eating in the cafeteria together. Remember that? I think
I
he
sure
had. I
do.
don't know if he had a bag lunch or something like that.
I don't remember what they were eating though.
Yeah, it was whatever cafeteria food for the employees at Macy's was. So,
So Miracle on 34th Street,
mhm.
typically considered to be a Christmas movie. So why don't you help us out by telling us what the Thanksgiving tie is and why you thought this would be a good one to finish off our Thanksgiving week with?
Well, I think the tie is the end of the start of the movie was
Yeah.
Thanksgiving,
It's
and
the
then
parade, yeah. It's a
right,
big, and Macy's is almost synonymous with Thanksgiving. Some people just call it the Macy's Day Parade instead of
I
Macy's
say that all the
Thanksgiving Day
time, and
Parade.
you always correct me because I'm
I'm
like, but I'm just used to it.
I
Just it's
got
being Macy's.
I got my quirks. I'm sorry for some
Ah.
reason, like knowing the actual name of things.
I mean, that
I don't
parade
know
has been
why.
going on for 100 years. I
Yeah,
mean, like it's
Macy's
almost
Thanksgiving Day
maybe
Parade.
almost 100 years. I don't know.
The parade is as old as Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
Now, what was your most memorable? Oh, one other thing though is I do think this movie was perfect to finish the week because this movie is a great transition from Thanksgiving into Christmas, and that's
Mhm.
kind of what we're doing, transitioning away from the Thanksgiving movies and into the Christmas movies. We'll talk more about that later. But what is your most memorable moment from Miracle on 34th Street?
Hmm. Well, the most memorable moment is probably at the court scene at the end when they declare that he really is Chris Kringle. That the federal government said that because he had all these letters,
Yes.
when they just came in and poured all the letters onto the guy's desk. I mean, he didn't know what he's asking for. He's like, "Show me right now. I want you
Yep.
to put the evidence on my desk." And they just kept piling up, and he just kept sinking lower and lower in his chair.
It was
That
a
was
really fun
probably
scene.
like the best moment of that movie.
Well, for me, the most memorable moment's the one that I tried to reenact in our intro, where Natalie Wood pulls on his whiskers and he goes, "Oh!"
Oh,
Something about that is just, I love that moment. That's one like that
yeah.
sticks with me.
I think another one that sticks with me too is when he's trying to teach her how to be a monkey and she's jumping
That
around and
was
the noises
crazy.
that she's making, I'm like, obviously the girl has never seen a monkey. Like, she didn't go to the zoo there in the Central Park Zoo or the Brooklyn Zoo or whatever.
They-
Like she just
They had the kangaroo and the monkey pen.
Oh
and she
my
didn't know.
gosh, it was the craziest thing. Like Santa knows how to act like a monkey, but she's just making noises. Like I don't know of any monkey that looks like that or acts like
I'm
that.
going to blame the director for that one. I
That
think the
was
director doesn't know what a
terrible.
monkey looks like. Who was the best character for you in this one? Was it Chris Kringle? Was it Santa?
Absolutely, Chris Kringle.
I think my best character, my favorite character, is the young guy from Brooklyn who becomes Santa's assistant, and
Oh.
he just really needs like an adult male mentor, role model, or whatever, and Santa's right there for him. And I like that. I think he's
Yeah.
from Brooklyn, isn't he?
Yeah, I
He
think
says
so.
something like, "Yeah, my family back in Brooklyn."
hmm You know what I thought was like really weird is I guess the president of Macy's back then was like a very famous
It
person
was
because
Mr. Macy.
they were like starry-eyed. Like that kid was like, "Mr. Macy, oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Macy," and I'm thinking like, who is that? If I saw
I-
Mr. Macy on the street, I wouldn't know who that was.
I think back then, department stores were a major economic tool, unlike they are now.
Yeah.
So I'd say back then it might be like Bill Gates or the Zuckerberg. It would be one of those types. Like they're famous for being rich and well known.
Yeah.
Now, this should be an easy one on this particular movie. But do you see any themes beyond Thanksgiving?
Oh yeah.
Let's hear.
Well, I think one of them, like we talked about it a little bit earlier, is like don't forget to be a child. You
Yeah.
know, like fantasy and that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that's the Christmas spirit too. Is that everybody, don't be afraid to tap into that inner child. Don't forget how you felt, when things were like new and things that made you happy. You know what I mean? Like,
And I think this movie has a really early theme that I already kind of mentioned, but I think it's showing the effect of this newfangled divorce on mid-century families. You know, because they're showing like how affected this little girl
yes,
is and her mother by the divorce, and that was probably not as nearly as common in
this is true.
1947 as it is now.
Yeah,
And also a working mother, a single working
yeah,
mother in a Christmas movie, that's something you expect more from the 70s.
yeah.
So
Well,
uh,
and the mom too was like this strong, independent woman,
yes,
but still had a soft side. And I think that she opened up into that soft side when the lawyer and Santa like helped her see that.
yeah,
And I think when she did that, it helped her with her daughter too, with getting her daughter to open up. Or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe her daughter, because she was um, more open to these things, made her mom more open
yeah.
to these things too. And just like, oh, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. So, yeah, I think that was great. Like that, I think I agree with what you're saying. But I think she also, just because she's a strong, independent woman, doesn't mean her daughter can't be, but can also have these other sides to
Yeah.
her.
Well, this is where we start giving some grades to the movie, and I'm
Mhm.
just curious what your thanks grade is. How much Thanksgiving spirit is in the Miracle on 34th Street?
Ooh, I'm probably gonna go with a B. I mean, I think like, and only because it just kicks off with like
Yeah,
Thanksgiving. It's more of a Christmas
yeah,
Christmas spirit and not so much of a Thanksgiving. But I know we wanted to end this one because it kind of transitions us into the next
right,
one.
right.
But um, the spirit of Thanksgiving is like being together and being with the people that you love. But this one was more centered around like moving from Thanksgiving and going into the giving part of like the
I
Christmas.
I think for some people, the spirit of Thanksgiving is we got to get this out of the way so we can start going nuts for Christmas.
Mm.
So this has a lot of that Thanksgiving spirit.
I
Starts
think
at let's
that
get
was me
Thanksgiving over so
too,
we can
right?
celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
Because people love to put up that Christmas tree on Black Friday. People just can't wait. You know, when I was growing up,
We put ours up the first week of November.
but when I was growing up, a pretty common tradition, at least in my community, was
You didn't wait till after
you put
Thanksgiving.
the tree up on Black
Hmm.
Friday, you take it down on New Year's Day. That was how I did it growing up.
Yeah.
My uncles and stuff. So I just kind of thought that was normal.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's got. I'm going to give it a B plus, just because a lot of people's Thanksgiving spirit isn't about Thanksgiving. It's like let's eat a big meal and then tell everybody what to get us for Christmas.
Yeah. That's what it's moved to anyway.
Now here is the more important score for a movie like this. What is your turkey leg score on a scale of 0 to 5 turkey legs? How good is this Thanksgiving movie?
I think I give it a 5. I think it's just a
It is a classic.
classic, timeless. The message I think is still the same, other than the, Santa giving like extravagant
Yeah.
things. But I think it's all about believing in Santa.
I'm going to give it 4 turkey legs just because it is a 60-year-old movie, and there are some people that are going to feel like it moves a little slower than a modern pace. The sound's a little bit different. The scenes last longer in older movies than they do in new movies.
It's
A
a
lot of
70-year-old,
yeah, I'm not good at math.
78-year-old movie.
I said almost 60, so that's only 18 years
It's
off.
almost 80 years old.
Oh my goodness, time is getting away from me. I thought I was still 30 when I said that.
No.
But yeah, you give it 5 turkey legs. I give it 4 turkey legs. So we're wrapping up our Thanksgiving week with a nice, solid movie. And in a way, it's the unofficial start to our Christmas movie reviews. You want to talk a little bit about what we're going to try to do? We don't know if we'll succeed or not, but we're going to try real hard.
Uh, we're gonna try to do 25 days of Christmas.
Yo, boy.
So, but like the
And
first couple, I just put them in order, the order that we're
yeah,
gonna do them in.
oldest to newest. I
Yeah.
love that.
And the first couple are some really good ones. It's mostly like the cartoony stuff because there
So-
weren't a whole lot of like good Christmas movies.
So-
It was more about the nostalgia of the
Stick
Rankins and
around.
Bass.
In
and
a
that
few
kind of
days
stuff,
on
so.
December 1st, we should drop our first Christmas movie review, and there'll be plenty of those. And then we will probably catch our breath a little bit in January and figure out what to do going forward. We're having fun reviewing movies, aren't we?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So until we come back with our Christmas sweaters on, I just want to say be thankful for what you got. Be more thankful for what you don't need. Be most thankful for movies. We'll see you soon.